Am I the asshole for being fed up with the menacing children living above us? Me, 22F, and boyfriend, 23M, live in a beautiful luxury apartment complex. Literally everything is perfect about the townhomes and apartments. They're well kept, never have any issues with people or their dogs. It's quite blissful. We moved in end of December, 2 days after the neighbors above us. We're third floor, they're fourth and top floor. Neighbors above us have 3 children under the age of 5. We live boring lives as we each work very high-stress jobs and just like to relax when we get home. Every day since the day we moved in, the 3 children above us are menaces from 5 a.m. to 12 a.m. every day, no matter what. Moving furniture, bashing heavy things on the ground, throwing themselves in the floor, having temper tantrums, and sumo wrestling from what it sounds. After a week of this, I decided one night to go introduce myself in case they forgot people lived under them. The mom answered the door and I introduced myself as the neighbor below and that it was nice to meet her. She apologized as it was Christmas break and school was out, so the kids were rough housing. I said I completely understand, kids are kids, and we left it at that. Fast forward to middle of January, it's 6 a.m. on a Sunday and the little menaces are at it again like it's their job. They woke me up from a dead sleep. I go up, knock on the door, and one of the kids answered the door and I asked for her mom. Mother comes, apologizes and says that if I have a problem that it's not her issue anymore, she cannot control her kids and that I needed to call the cops. I snarky replied, if you can't control them you shouldn't have had them. Not the nicest thing, but after losing sleep consecutively for weeks because of this I was fed up. I proceeded to email the office. Mind you, this entire time I've been getting videos and proof of the noises, so they got ample amount of evidence. She was fined by the county and told to knock off the noises outside of the ordinance hours. She didn't listen and let her children run amok, and I continued to complain every time I was woken up at 6 a.m. on a weekend. She's now been fined 5 times for a total of $4,000 and tells the office I discriminate against her because she has children and she simply can't afford the fines given by the county. I love kids, but if I wanted to live with them I would have reproduced. Am I the asshole? Edit. When complaining I didn't know she'd get fined and I did feel bad after the fact of finding out, but it's how the office handles things, as me trying to be civil and maybe come to an agreement with her just did not work. I only complain when it's after noise ordinance hours and ridiculously unbearable. We also use earplugs as well as noise machines, and during the day hearing them could careless. It's when it's early in the morning and late at night. I've also asked the management about possibly switching apartments or seeing what's available, and sadly that's not an option. Also, anytime the office has tried to speak to her about the noise complaints she curses them out and they have to get the authorities involved. There's no reason for those children to be making noise at that hour. It's not outrageous to expect quiet hours to be quiet. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You are entitled to peace and quiet, and the upstairs neighbor is entirely responsible to make sure her kids don't violate your right to peace and quiet. I'm gonna go against the grain here, not the asshole. As I type this, the unit next door's kids are bombing around their apartment, crashing into our shared wall, screaming, and shaking our unit from their antics, and there's only 2 small kids and a dog roughhousing over there. It's enough to drive me insane. I haven't complained because this is only temporary housing for us. We plan to move out ASAP. I am of the opinion that people who can't parent properly shouldn't be parents at all. Not the asshole. You and your neighbors have the right to peace and quiet in your own homes. It is utterly ridiculous that you need to wear earplugs in your own house. As per your comment and edit, it sounds like she's one of those people that expect the world to revolve around her kids. Fuck that. Her kids are her problem and she's making them everyone else's. She needs to be a better parent or budget for all the fines she's getting for not being one. I wouldn't feel too badly about her getting those fines, either. She's bringing them on herself. Info. Is your apartment complex doing anything about this, when you've complained to them? Am I the asshole for refusing to help cook on Mother's Day? On Thursday, my dad, 42M, took me, 18M, to help pick out a frame for my mom's, 38M, Mother's Day gift, which was a frame that said, "Mom, you are the piece that holds us together," with puzzle pieces beneath it with our names on it. After 2 hours of shopping, we got what we needed, and I picked out a frame for us to use. My brother, 4M, received a little credit since he was little, and my other brother, 15M, did as well, though he didn't help. He just said whether or not it looked good. On Friday, the gift was complete, so we showed it to Mom that evening, and she liked it. We took a picture with it as well. We had a garage sale on Saturday, but we all did our own thing afterward. That evening, I played with a few online friends and decided to stay up late since it was the weekend, and we didn't have plans on Sunday. I decided to go to bed around 2:30 a.m. This morning, Sunday, my dad opens my door at 9:05 a.m., which wakes me up. He asks me to help cook the eggs for Mother's Day. I explained to him that I was trying to sleep because I stayed up late and didn't know we planned to make breakfast beforehand so that I wouldn't stay up late. Dad insists that I help with the eggs or the waffles, but I reiterated that I'm still trying to sleep because I stayed up late. He said I would help with the eggs and said a pan was out and that I had 6 minutes and started closing the door. I quickly tried to say that I had already told him. At around 9:45 a.m., he came in again while I was in bed asleep. The opening of the door woke me up, and he said, "How do you think that'll make her feel? Hearing that you refused to help make her breakfast?" I replied that I had already helped with her Mother's Day gift, and he said something along the lines that he was the one who had the idea and actually built it and that helping with breakfast is something I can have more control over. I replied, "Got it. I wasn't a part of her gift." After some back and forth, he closed the door a little, it wasn't fully closed, and left to continue cooking. At around 10:15 a.m., breakfast was ready, and I was asleep. He came to my door, slammed it shut, and walked towards the kitchen cursing about me, but he didn't call me any names from what I heard. I'm not sure what he said, but I think it related to doing what I wanted and not what the household needed. I feel like he failed to communicate his plans and that if he had told me he intended on making breakfast the next morning for Mother's Day, even after her gift, it would have helped me to know not to stay up late under the impression that we finished Mother's Day and that we had nothing planned. Am I the asshole? You are the asshole. You could have cooked breakfast for your mom. You slept for 6 hours and could have slept the rest of the day after making breakfast if you were so tired. How often do you think your mom was tired when she got up to make breakfast for you? Info you say that helped to pick out the present for your mom. Did you just pick out the present or did also pay for it? This is why everyone hates teenagers. You are the asshole. So, you thought that jumping in on your dad's gift to your mother was an adequate gift for Mother's Day? Because you picked out a frame? Honey, no. Mother's Day isn't about gifts. I wouldn't say you're the asshole for not cooking breakfast, but you are the asshole for saying, "We gave her a gift and took pictures. Mother's Day is over." My question to you, then, is what do you plan to actually do for her today? You should make this up to her, not because your father is angry with you, but because you love her, I assume, and want to make this one day of the year that's supposed to be about her actually be about her. You are the asshole. I guarantee there were times in your life that your mom would have given her left tit to sleep but stayed up to take care of your ungrateful ass. It's one morning, you can catch up on sleep later. You are the asshole. You seem to want way too much credit for picking out a frame. That's the bare minimum you could have done for your mom. You knew it was Mother's Day. You didn't really even mention your mom in the post. I'm glad my kids actually put in effort for me. You are going to make your mom feel bad by not showing her you care and making this day about you instead of her. This is a very immature post. You are 18. It's time to start thinking of others and growing up a bit. Am I the asshole not eating food my girlfriend's parents made at family dinner? My girlfriend of 4 years has a different cultural background than mine. Her parents are not from America and family and meals are very important to them. I grew up in America and while we had holiday dinners and maybe a Sunday dinner every couple of weeks. For the most part, mom or dad made something and then we ate it where and when we wanted. I eat dinner with my GF's parents every week and I love it. It is important to her and I have no problem with different cuisines. It's all delicious food. And #X200B. However, I do not eat a lot. Growing up I was very overweight and saw a nutritionist. Stuck to a calorie deficit and worked on my portions and I've been at a healthy weight ever since. My relationship with food has changed and I no longer have the desire to tear through 2 double quarter pounders anymore. My GF's parents seem to get offended that I get small portions of things and don't fill my plate up a second time. They will make maybe 5-6 different food options and I'll get a little bit of everything because I want to taste it all. At some point every time I am there they ask me if I didn't like the food. They mention the small portions and how I never go back for more. I just honestly tell them that I don't overeat. They've never made a scene about it to me but I guess they've been discussing it with my girlfriend while I am not there. And #X200B. A couple of days ago my girlfriend told me that her parents feel offended over how little I eat. Which, a little, is a 100% full plate with a bit of everything made. And some days I eat less or some days I eat more. It really depends. If I skipped breakfast, had a light lunch, I might fill up more for dinner. But if, for example, I got a decent breakfast, work-catered sandwiches that day, I'm going to get a normal, small-sized dinner. My general goal is to have equal-sized meals each time, but with a busy work life that is not always possible. So some days I didn't have any food until family dinner and I am eating more than usual. My girlfriend asked me if it were possible that I could eat a bit more just for them one day a week. She didn't push or demand, just asking if it were possible. I told her that I don't want to ruin my mended relationship with food. I don't understand why the parents are so offended. I always pack up Tupperware and eat it throughout the week because it's delicious food. I don't want to disrespect her parents though. And #X200B. EDT. Another odd thing I want to add. They will make comments about my girlfriend, who is in great shape, that she is putting on weight, sometimes. But also pressure her to fill her plate twice. I don't get it. Not the asshole. Your girlfriend needs to talk to her parents about laying off of you regarding the portion sizes. Their attitude may be culturally appropriate for them, but is harmful to your health. No explanation is necessary. Tell them the food is delicious and this is the amount you want. If they persist, repeat as necessary. Your girlfriend can discuss it however she wants with them, but she should not be asking you to eat differently to please them. Tell her not to ask you again. Info. Have you tried explaining to them the reason behind your calculated eating habits, as thoroughly as you are currently explaining it to us? Not the asshole. But what I've done, and most of the time passes, is fake a full plate, stack things that can be stacked, and put less than I want. That way I will serve myself more and it does look like I ate more food. Hope it helps. You're not ta. That's pretty classic immigrant parenting. They're down to calling their child fat while insisting they eat more. Seen this both in my Hispanic in-laws and my Asian friends. Would I be the asshole for splitting my son's inheritance with his unborn sibling? My 38 female granddad passed away in February and we've since found out that he's left his grandchild and great-grandchildren £5,000, $6,230 each in his will, which I am very appreciative of. We have been trying to conceive child number 2 for 2 years. There was a provision in my granddad's will that any great-grandchild in utero at the time of his death would also receive £5,000. Unfortunately, I got pregnant the cycle after his death, so the child is missing out by less than a month. I mentioned this to my mum, not in a money-grabbing way, and that I was intending to give my £5,000 to the child as I'd want both children to be given an equal start. They wouldn't be able to access the money until they are 18. I was hoping that she would say she'd speak to her brother and sister to get another £5,000 from the pot, but she just suggested splitting the money for my son between the two of them. That doesn't sit entirely well with me, but it also doesn't sit right that I give all mine and receive nothing. I feel that £5,000 plus interest is a decent amount of money that could be used towards a house deposit, whilst splitting it in half wouldn't really go far. Other info: my son and granddad weren't particularly close. We visited, less so because of COVID and they lived quite far away, but not so often that they formed a strong bond. The £5,000 wasn't because they had a particular relationship, it is a standard rate to all grandchildren and great-grandchildren. If my granddad were alive, I think his preference would be for the kid to receive £5,000 from his estate. If that's not a possibility, I think he would have then wanted for me to still have an inheritance and for the great-grandchildren to have an equal amount. Edit. Thanks for the comments. I wasn't happy with the morality of it but was not fully considering the legality of it. My mum suggested it and I hadn't fully thought it through. My granddad had 6 other grandchildren who don't have kids. He couldn't make provision for how many other great-grandchildren he would have, so needed to put a sensible cut-off. But I don't think he would have liked the idea of one sibling benefiting and the other not. The remaining pot, by the way, is over £600,000 and is to be split between my mum and her 2 siblings. My mum needs the money but it wouldn't be missed by the other 2. If I was going to keep the £5,000, it would have gone towards things that both children would have benefited from: upgrading the windows in our current house or helping us move to a bigger one. Might have contributed to their inheritance in the long run. You are the asshole. The rules of the will are very clear: existing relatives, whether still in the womb or independent, only. Offspring number 2 doesn't qualify. If you want them to benefit from the estate, then put some of your own inherited portion away and make do with a bit less yourself. Yes, it's sensible to put some money away for your progeny's future, But you should be doing that off your own back, not stealing your son's rightful inheritance or trying to ignore the stated rules. You are the asshole. You were off by a cycle. That's the end of it. Doing anything else at this point is against the will, and it's not your place to take from your elder child's inheritance. YTA. So you're already stealing from one child instead of saving the same amount yourself and thus making it your son's responsibility? How embarrassing for you. Hope your son realizes he can sue you for the whole amount that is rightfully his. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. The terms of the will are very clear. Well done to your granddad for having a good one drawn up. You are trying to change the terms of the will. In this case, the inheritance is not something infinite that can just accommodate a new bequest. You are essentially taking away from someone else's portion for your second child. You just don't want that portion to be your own.